Now, let's say hypothetically that you wanted to play the Incas in EU5, so you decide to look up who actually created the Inca Empire. We have a lot of countries to pick from, so why not go with the historical contender? It's like playing England to form Britain. It makes sense, right? Wrong. You want to play these guys? You want to play Cusco? Don't do it. I wouldn't condemn my worst enemy to playing Cusco in EU5. On the surface, this almost looks playable. You know, 46,000 population. We start with a town. That's cool. Except for one small problem. There's one market in here, and nobody has any food. From the start, the entire market is in a 300 food negative balance. This doesn't improve, by the way. So the price of food just gets higher and higher. And that's not normally a problem, except to see, we also don't make enough food in our own provinces. Eventually, we'll be sitting here with like minus 70 ducats per month just to feed the population. Now, I did ask my Discord for help to try and figure out how you can maybe create a viable start as Cusco. So we're going to implement a couple of the suggestions that I've received. And the number one thing for us to do is try to reduce the food consumption. Basically, we have to remove the nobility from existence. Oh, and also we're going to remove probably all of these buildings, actually. We need to return to subsistence agriculture. Fortunately, there are actually a couple of unique things we get from being in the Andes. We get a little bit of extra food production up here. And of course, we're going to reduce the cost of purchasing food. As for this law, itinerant court, super useful. We're going to move our capital out of Cusco, and we'll reduce the cost to invest in stability. The religious mechanic is kind of weird in the Inca. Anywhere from negative 100 to 0 is fine, but if you have above 0, it kind of sucks. We get a monthly ticking of 0.5. By default, it sort of ticks down, but you can also make it go up, so we're just going to keep it at 0. We're going to do something a little interesting. First, we want to settle tribesmen, because tribesmen turn into peasants, and peasants, especially if you have positive food productivity, actually create more food than they consume. So we're also going to go over here and turn on partial yield, reduce peasant food consumption. There's also no money to tax, so we don't have to worry about that. Here, we'll hire you for that job. Second cabinet action. Allegedly, we want to expel people from the province. I'm just going to see if that works the way that I want it to. In theory, we can try to get the nobility to leave, try to get the clerics to leave, try to make anybody who consumes a lot of food leave the province. Okay, never mind. Nobody's actually leaving the province. So, option number 2 will increase province control. That's actually going to affect the speed at which we can promote tribesmen into peasants. And actually, we're going to delete these buildings, specifically because the existence of these buildings increases the number of burghers we can have in the town, and we don't want very many. Also, what's really important is that we go over here to our employment system, go infrastructure, then most profitable. The reason, by the way, that nobody ever has any food in this market is specifically because it's winter like half the year. So, for example, in our capital, during a normal winter, we get minus 50% food production. A severe winter, which happens every now and then, is minus 200%, which means that you make no food at all. Fortunately, this province only gets normal winters, so we're gonna move our capital there and try to build a whole lot of legumes. For us to survive this process, we are going to have to take more food from other people. So, any location which does produce at least some food, we're going to go ahead and take. Namely, we're going to no CB for this maize province. As long as we can walk there before their army raises their levies, then we get a free victory. A lot of the warfare in this game is going to be like this. It's especially important because when we occupy, we get money, and also, we're going to take more money. We just need to have enough money to survive the first few winters, and then in theory, as we fix our food situation, we should actually be able to sell food to the market for a little bit of money. Maybe. Those food payments are looking pretty steep right about now, though. Out of curiosity, can I get people to move to this one province? No. Are they allowed to? Also no. Hold on. Okay, now do you want to move? Yes, okay. We can get people to move into the location which has much more stable food production. Because the climate here is continental, whereas the climate in our capital is Arctic. Oh, we can get some free money, absolutely. We need as much money as possible. We're going to spend so much on food. The entire population must evacuate, especially because our town here has minus 20% additional food productivity. productivity just from being a town. That kind of sucks. Oh, also, it doesn't really matter how much we tax the commoners. Like, they'll be upset about this, but they're still gonna pay, and when they revolt, that's actually the easiest thing to put down. Age of Renaissance, we're not gonna be doing very much, but we will take the administrative focus. If we do somehow survive long enough, we will want this local infrastructure cost. Speaking of living long enough, what do you know? Okay, we're gonna move our capital, actually, into this province. We want a lot of migration attraction. Okay, we're now at a pretty critical part of the game. Our province has finally completely run out of food. It is starving. The population is about to decline. If we get like one alliance, we might be able to keep ourselves alive. We are extraordinarily weak as Cusco, so there's a chance we might actually get attacked, and that would kinda suck. Fortunately, everybody in the Andes is just continuously bankrupt, so I don't think it's going to end up being too big of a deal. Even this guy with his gold province, he's probably gonna go bankrupt. In fact, he's gonna go bankrupt and he's going to have insane inflation. Food is now a little bit cheaper to purchase. It's gonna go a long way, actually, because for 6 months between, I think it's June, maybe July, and December is when winter hits. And like clockwork, every single time we're going to have to buy food. It is sometimes a good idea to get a claim on one of your neighbors and to fight them, not because you want their territory, but because you want their money. And we're declaring war specifically in December, because we should be able to raise our levies and siege their capital before they can respond. And usually that's really all you need. There we go, 100%. Even though Defender's not fully occupied, he hasn't actually cored this stuff. Likewise, we also don't want to core anything. I just want to take money, war reps. We're going to go ahead and integrate these other two cultures. Not that they really matter too much, but it makes them happier, so that's nice. Now that we're in this new era, Age of Renaissance, we're going to want to go down here to more food production. Now, we could declare more no-CB wars, but we don't really want to. We really need to keep on turning tribesmen into peasants, so if we can, we'd actually like to have positive stability. If you can believe it, we are ready to build a building. One singular building. Revolutionary stuff for the Inca. We have a unique building called a terrace. You can build them pretty much everywhere, I think. Well, everywhere in the Andes for sure. Mountains, plateaus, hills. And that gives you 50% improved local food production. For sure, we're gonna pick this up. This will make it so that we actually produce food during the winter as well, and we have a unique advantage of having this one location never having a severe winter. So if we put one in here, sometimes it's not actually going to be useful because we're still going to have negative 100% food productivity. That is, by the way, the exact reason that we went with infrastructure first and then most profitable. We want to make sure that this thing is always staffed. More money, we will take that. The clergy are starting to get a little upset. The commoners have no power whatsoever, so they're not going to revolt for a long time. Even when the clergy do revolt, they're pretty much just in the capital. We're going to start another war over here. Fabricate another CB on these guys this time. Same as last time, we're really just looking to get a little bit of money. Somehow we actually did have to fight a battle, but it's okay because we're really just looking for one occupation. Okay, maybe 2 occupations. Actually, how expensive would you be as a tributary? 0 diplomatic capacity. Interesting. Versus 0.04 diplomatic capacity. Oh, that's gotta be bugged. There's no way. You know what? I'll make a save and then I'll test my theory. Make you a vassal, max money, war reps, of course. Sure. That should be enough money for us to expand the RGO here so we can make even more food. Oh, I think I know what happened. They went bankrupt. Let me guess. No money? Yeah, I don't think they're taxing any money, so they have no power, and they're not taxing it because they are bankrupt. That's my assumption. It's important to note, actually, whenever we expand this, it temporarily disables the terraces because people are starting to move into here. I really didn't think it would do that because of our employment system, but important to remember that, I guess. We do also have this clergy revolt. We can call in our allies, of course, but I don't think it's going to be too important. In fact, we spend less money during the winter months. There we go. With that last tech we just picked up, now in the winter in this one province, we actually still get 37% increased food production, which is quite nice. Now, you might think it makes sense to take this parliament issue. It actually doesn't. It's kind of a trap. You're never going to pass it, so you always lose stability. And granted, we're going to do that anyway. But you don't even get a CB, and the cost of purchasing food is not reduced enough to matter. Especially when our objective is to stop buying food completely. I did have to bargain with the commoners a little bit to get them to be happy enough, but now that they are willing to lend me some levies for this war. I think we can assume that they're going to try and siege this back down, so I'm gonna try and go for their capital again. Oh, actually, never mind, they decided to attack us up here. They should be receiving massive penalties for that fight, but they won anyway, so okay. We're just gonna move into their capital, perhaps. We have our subject to help. Battles are so weird in this game. I was so sure I was going to lose this, but it seems the river crossing into a mountains is enough to overcome being outnumbered. And so we actually can win this war. We're going to ask for war reps again. We just don't really want to take anything. Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure we did just lose like 10 ducats over the course of one winter. And so it begins. When this winter is done, we will go ahead and start building up this RGO. Just have to make sure that we don't lose a bunch of money. We're getting close. Okay, we're good. At this point, we are able to actually sell food, surprisingly. You know, now that I understand how to play in this region, I'm gonna regret saying this, it's actually not too bad. In fact, it does give you an interesting playstyle, where instead of building a bunch of goods, your main export is food. Nobody has any food. So if you can provide food, you become king in this region. Oh, if you plan to do this yourself, by the way, do not hold your breath for a parliament debate that will expand one of your food production RGOs. You will not get one. Trust me, I have spent at least 4 hours attempting to make Cusco work. You will never receive one. I don't know why. I don't know what triggers it or what doesn't trigger it. It will never happen. Out of the choices we have here, we do want to fight somebody who actually makes some kind of money. Actually, these guys might not be a bad idea. And you know what? I think I actually am going to turn this guy into a vassal as well. The thing is, vassals are actually pretty easy to have, very easy to acquire, and that's because they're all bankrupt. Like every single country in this region goes bankrupt. So the diplomatic capacity they take up gets smaller and smaller the more we're able to produce more food. Speaking of which, miraculously, we have so much money that we can expand the RGO before we have enough laborers to fill it. I never thought we'd be here. Now, that being said, we're not actually going to do that. Instead, what we're going to do is put down another terrace right in this maize province. Now, I'm very cautious about this, but it might be the right time. You'll notice that I haven't actually clicked a button that allows me to expand my territory, and that's because I've wanted to keep myself fairly small. You can see even in these places there's a food deficit, so as we expand, we are going to have to feed this population. I'm gonna make a little bit of a gamble. I'm going to bet that in the next 10 years, we will increase our food production capacity enough to feed those pops. So for the next 10 years, we're going to settle the frontier with one of our cabinet members. When you do this, make sure you always pick the youngest person in the cabinet, or at least close to the youngest person. You just have to make sure they survive the next 10 years. Otherwise, all of the progress you've made will disappear. And the nobility have decided to put together all of their money to build a terrace in Cusco. I could kiss them right now. Now, with this peace deal, we're going to start chipping away at this guy a little bit, piece by piece. Starting with this gems province we can pick up. I do find it interesting that we look over here and I see that a lot of my population is actually just starving, but we're also exporting food to the market. We'll have one more war against these guys this time, although you are going to call in this guy, which isn't actually too bad. Turns out these vassals are a lot more useful than I thought they'd be. We are unfortunately also fighting the guys up here, but because I have so many subjects and they're actually helping me, it isn't actually too difficult to fight this war. We can very easily get 100%, which will allow us to peace out separately even though it has not been 12 months. Of course, we're still not looking to vassalize this guy yet, but look at all that beautiful money we have. Money that can be spent on expanding the potatoes in here and the maize in here. Okay, this is the moment that I'm most nervous about. We have finished settling the frontier, which gives us all this territory. Are we going to have enough food to feed these people? I think so, yes. But we'll just have to wait and see. Here comes the first test of the year. We did get a very lucky event for a bountiful harvest, so that's nice. We're buying a little more food than usual, but it's not actually too bad. And yeah, you know what? If we want to start making things in the capital, I think I'm fine with that. Now, I don't mean to jump to any conclusions, but ladies and gentlemen, I think we have done it. After hours of torment trying to figure out how to make this country playable, it seems a method has been devised. we're going to declare another war, but this one's going to be a little bit special. We're going to fabricate a CB on Chincha, which I know sounds insane, but you just have to trust the process. We can raise our levies. We have a lot of them now, 2,500, and we shall march. And we do this so that we can take over the market center. Additionally, we will vassalize them and their other subject, humiliate them, take max money, and war reps. Now that the market capital is in here, I might actually move it to Cusco at some point maybe, but that costs a lot of money and I can't be bothered. It's staying where it is for now. Now my subjects are asking for money. The thing is, for you, I know what's going to happen if I give you money. You're going to spend it all on food. So no, you don't get to have money. I'm going to spend it on food the right way, where I build food RGOs. You're going to spend it on food because you're broke and you're starving. For the first time in a while, I'm actually going to open up the granaries again so we can fit more food in the capital. For the first time, maybe ever, the market is able to survive an entire winter cycle without depleting down to 0 food. We are single-handedly feeding all of the Andes, and we will continue to do so because we're not just going to stop here with these terraces. Oh no, we are also going to go over here and build a ton of irrigation. There are a few places in the Andes which produce enough food, so we're going to have to maximize them. There is also a maize province right here that I would like to grab. Fortunately, they are mostly a culture that we accept, so I think for us to grab this, we should only have to click this button and that's it. Yep, there we go. I think we've settled enough of the pops around our general area. They're going to continue very slowly converting into peasants, but in the areas where it matters, like where we're producing a lot of food, we definitely have enough people. So we're going to start working on this maze over here. Oh, right, of course, we are actually lacking tools, and we would be because we aren't producing any. Actually, no, we are, just not very many. If we could get some more copper and tin, we could make some bronze tools, which would be more efficient. I know we do have some copper down here, but tin, it's kind of nowhere to be found. Oh, it's all the way down here. Yeah, that's why there's nobody here. I do want to actually take the final part of our main province. You have quite a few allies here, but that shouldn't cause too much trouble. Yeah, that was actually really easy. Now, if I wanted to, should I? No, I probably shouldn't vassalize all of them. Oh, actually, we just got enough prestige from that last fight to upgrade ourselves into a duchy. When we do that, we actually get more diplomatic capacity. So actually, I would have vassalized them, but that's all right. Now, the provinces we just grabbed include a gold province. Very nice. We are going to change our law here so that we ban exports. That doesn't really matter because, of course, we're not going to export gold anywhere. But more importantly, it reduces the amount of gold output we have because that is going to increase our inflation. We want the gold, just not that much. Oh wow, we actually do have a fund farming estates parliament debate that would expand the maize farms. That's a new one. Well, anyway, we're not actually going to use it for that. This will be the first time in the entire campaign that I can actually change a law. And feudal administration has served us well. It gave us 5% food production efficiency. However, that 5% is going to have to be swapped out for the central council. We do want that centralization. You have no idea the level of relief I feel now that this is actually working. When I started recording, I had no idea whether or not this would be successful. In fact, every single playtest so far has been unsuccessful, so I kind of expected it to not work. We've even gotten to a point where I can start building roads. It's crazy. I guess I could give the burghers a few things now. We would like to change one more law from uneducated masses to religious teachings. Try to improve that literacy just a little bit if we can. Oh, and look at this. Just got more money from bailing on the parliament. What to do now that we actually have decent money? Well, I actually would like to move the capital back to Cusco. For a while, this rural capital was the economic center of the country, but now that we make enough food in here, we can support more burghers, so we're going to start making a lot more things. We do also have some interesting buildings called tambos. Now that we're past the strategy, I get to talk about history. So the Incas had a really centralized empire. They kind of had a command economy even. The government would decide how much of what needs to be produced where and invest accordingly to make sure that production quotas were being met. That, of course, requires very extensive bureaucracy, so their solution to governing such a large empire with such a centralized economic system was to make these things called tambos. They weren't just supply depots, they could also accept messages from messengers traveling across the empire. And they set up a relay system to make this really fast. So when a messenger would pick up a message, they would travel to the next tambo, hand the message off to that messenger who would run to the next one, and so on and so forth. So it makes a lot of sense that we can only build these in areas that have roads. They do give us 5% control, which is massive, but there you go. You have a little bit of history blending into how the game itself works. Actually, we'll go in here, and hosting a ceremony is kind of expensive. It gives you 1 year of 10% pop growth. I think what I'd rather do is celebrate a ritual so we can swap over to Inti for more pop growth. Actually, what does a pilgrimage do? Oh, we can gain or we can decide to lose Yanantin. Oh, and when we visit it, it actually gets production efficiency and monthly prosperity. Interesting. Okay, how about we lose some Yanantin? I found that that might actually be useful and is possibly something you should do at the start, because it gives you a lot more peasant estate satisfaction equilibrium. It also reduces the chance of pops joining rebels, which is cool. That's a lot of peasant happiness, actually. Let's see if there are any other places we can settle. We should be able to colonize over here fairly easily. We're not going to get very much money out of it. What I'm mostly interested in, actually, is getting the maize here. But since it's an accepted culture, we can grab that immediately. Very nice. There's just one place over here with a culture that I can't accept yet. Okay. So I don't think we can actually send people there. Yeah, no, we don't really want to. So let's abandon that. We just wanted the one province. Oh, look, that's Pichu. What do you know? Well, anyway, we're going to start settling some tribesmen. And you know what? I guess the burghers can have a few things. You want roads, centralization? Sounds good. If there's any subject to integrate first, I think it would be this one, actually. They have these 2 wool provinces that do produce at least a little bit of food. Actually, they produce more than this beeswax, and I've been stacking this, so might as well annex that. I'm not going to get, like, any money, but it's okay, because we get food, and food is money if you really think about it. It's unfortunate we don't really have too many CBs we can use. I'm not a really big fan of this tributary one either, but I might use it, I don't know. We just really don't want to no CB. It's really important, actually. Because when we look over here to regions like, say, Pichu, for example, we have very little control, and it's going to stay that way. But even though the control is crushing our monthly promotion, having positive stability, if we get that up to 100%, that's actually going to counteract the lack of control completely. And we really want to get as many tribesmen converting to peasants all at once as possible. So now that we have enough food, focusing on pop promotion is the most important thing we can do. With this last law change, we should be exactly where we want to be. We're just going to change from a martial society to a civil society. It feels weird to say that we don't have enough stone, but we truly don't. We should probably stack a lot more stone quarries. But then those also require lumber, and the lumber in the market is not that high either. If we want lumber, we're going to have to go over here, which is owned by nobody, or over here, which is also owned by nobody. Excellent choices. Okay, we might need to send out another person to claim some more territory. Oh, we actually can't do that over here. Oh, we don't technically border that. Right, okay. Well, we could get stone from over here if we subjugate this guy. I'll wait for a CB for that, though. We already talked about why. Actually, all of this would be solved if we could get a source of iron. If we settle this area, then we can get access to this iron, and I kind of do want that. What kind of culture do we have here? And here we have some Chanka and some Wari culture. Oh, I actually accept both. Okay, yeah, we can just settle that. That's easy. There we go. Oh, but not for these, though. Interesting. Well, at the very least, we can start expanding the potatoes and stuff over here. Well, at least these locations aren't really starving, so it's fine. If that's not going to work, though, then we're going to get rid of this. And instead, we're going to get you over here to settle this frontier. Oh, but we can't do that anymore. That's so weird. I can't settle these provinces anymore. This game confuses me so much. Okay, screw it. Never mind. You will settle over here. Our guy has died here. We're going to... Oh, wow, really? I was hoping we'd be able to move it back to Cusco. It's not even an option. Wow, that's That's great, actually. Okay, well, I guess we're keeping it where it is. Don't worry about the depopulation. That's actually just people moving over to this new area. Although, now that I think about it, it's for 10 years. 12 months for 10 years, 120 months, and it's 1,000 people. That's going to be 120,000 people moved over here. I don't really want to move 120,000 pops from my main province over to this location. That sounds horrendous, actually. Let's not do that. I don't think copper's used in too much. So we might turn this into an actual town. We have like no lumber. No lumber, barely any glass. Get a glass guild at least. Ooh, okay. Promote urbanization in Cotapampa. Oh, yeah, no, absolutely not. Alright, let's expand the gravel road network. Actually, we'll go ahead and do that a little bit. We're gonna attach some roads to Cusco, because we do plan on eventually making Cusco our capital again. And also, in each place that I build one of these roads to Cusco, we can also throw down a tambo. And then I'm actually going to fabricate a CB on these guys. I know I mentioned invading the ones up here, but I might just turn them into a tributary, and then elevate them from a tributary into a vassal, which I'm pretty sure you can do. And then we got an urban parliament seat, and expanded a few things to make sure we do follow through on this for a bit of centralization. Speaking of which, I do need to fix my centralization. A big part of that is because I handed this out to the peasants to make them happier, but honestly, I don't think they should keep this. So what we're going to do is the pilgrimage. Oh, that's expensive. Maybe I don't want to do that. We'll lose 20 yenantin. Now the peasants are significantly happier. We'll also go ahead and celebrate Inti, which will cause us to lose another 10. There we go. Now the peasants are super happy. And very unlikely to revolt. Or at least they will be. So you're actually going to become a vassal. I'll actually turn both of these guys into vassals. Okay, I think for the good of the entire region, it's better for us to also invest in the agriculture of our subjects. Because if I can fill the market food stockpile, then it brings down the price of food for everybody. So, in theory, my subjects should be able to make money and start building themselves up as well. And then eventually we'll inherit them and they'll give us a whole bunch of infrastructure. Stuff that they've been building up over time. And yes, I might be profiting off of them buying my food, but at the same time, the amount we get from selling food isn't that much, and we're going to be developing our cities anyway, so we'll replace that lost economic productivity. I think making a ton of money because food is expensive is not actually a good thing. I think food should be cheaper first. That's probably a good priority. We've integrated our very first subject. Very nice. Let's go ahead and turn this into a town. We'll also start annexing this subject. Burghers can also have something else, I guess. Temporary treasury rights is actually not a terrible idea, since we can't even fully tax them anyway. Burghers coming in clutch with, what is that? 3 roads being built and a tambo. That's crazy. Speaking of which, I do actually need to build one in here. Ooh, we really don't have a lot of good options. I was kind of hoping to get ourselves another CB. I guess we still can, really. Not that bad. This guy has a lot of food, and we want to take it. Oh, they got hands. Hold on, pause. Let's relax for a second. That's a lot of people. This is definitely something. Our region could just become the new ruler? I mean, how bad could that possibly be? It does have excellent stats. Fortunately, warfare is really easy at this part of the game because there's nobody to siege. So all we have to do is try to figure out a way into these mountains, actually. Alright, with that we should be good. We're going to turn Sura into a vassal. We're going to conquer all this territory and divvy it up into a couple of vassals. We'll take money, of course, and I think that's everything we can do. So we'll make a vassal there, we'll make a vassal over here, and then we'll re-release you over here. Now with that done, we can ask to improve the cultural opinion, which will make it easier for us to integrate the Aymara culture. Now, none of you have iron, do you? No iron, no lumber. Stone in theory, but we can't expand it because we have no lumber. We'll go ahead and quickly turn this guy into a tributary. Except I'm dumb and it's June. Okay, anyway, where's tributary, all that stuff. Yeah, I love the 50 aggressive expansion turning someone into a tributary gives you. That's really cool. I guess we'll just take this. Let me see if I can colonize over here, actually. Because that is Chanka culture. So we should be able to settle it. And yet we can't. But I can't figure out why. We can settle Wari culture, but we can't settle Chanka culture. Oh, it's religion. Yeah, they're a different religion here. Okay, that makes sense. Game crashed. Let's go. I think what we have to do is actually just build a ton of tool guilds. Although we can't actually build that many. I might see if I can encourage some migration back into Cusco, because I think we now have enough food for that. We do have a new problem in our market, where we need more tools in order to colonize to get lumber, but to get tools we need more iron, but for more iron we need lumber. We're having a pretty bad time. I would love to colonize these locations, I just don't think we can really do that. I'm gonna reestablish this colonial charter, and I'm gonna see what I can do about the tools shortage. Starting to reminisce about the earlier parts of this campaign. Back when the only problem was food, we had one problem. Now we have like 70 problems. One of the problems actually is that our subjects keep on making slave markets. I don't even know if it's possible for us to use slaves. Second of all, those also use tools. We can't afford that. Like, why don't you actually, yeah, you're gonna make tools for me, okay? You're my subject. You will be producing all the tools that I need, thank you. It's ridiculous to have a tool shortage. Okay, the commoners are up to 64% loyalty. Now would be the time to revoke one of their privileges. Okay, there we go. Now we have enough tools in the market. Well, let's see. Ruler died. Yep, still can't move it back to Cusco. Looks like we're gonna do that manually. Well, here's a good one. We'll pick this up. We'll fabricate a CB on you. We'll make another vassal. We have no choice. She's also going to become the new ruler. The one thing that does kind of suck is that every time we get a new ruler, we have to remove this building in every single one of our locations. I'm hoping we can remove that system, because as we grow larger, that's going to become even worse. Removing each one costs 10 legitimacy, so I can only afford to remove them from the most important cities. Now that we do have enough tools, we should actually be able to build an incamisana. Gives a little more local food production, which is quite nice. Screw it, let's just start settling the frontier. But to settle it, we're going to get somebody from a location that we don't actually really care about. We're going to settle this, and we just have to wait 10 years. It is going to send 1,000 pops per month for 10 years. So if we use one location and settle that entire thing from the one location, it will definitely depopulate it. So there will be like one person living here, but that's fine, because I just don't want to send like 120,000 people over. Balancing the budget would actually be quite nice. Yeah, I guess we could do that. Really? Another tool shortage? How do you even do this? Right, so we don't have enough stone to make tools, and we don't have enough tools to make stone. This is really good, I think. So, what's the main problem? Yeah, there are actually 0 people in this province now. But we're still settling, so it's actually working exactly the way that I wanted it to. Unfortunately, because we can't really build anything, I'm just sitting on a whole pile of money. Can't really do much until we get wood, and we are colonizing these 2 locations, but they do get stuck every now and then. Alright, we're going to get another CB, this time on the guy all the way up here. Because they have, I think, one of 2 total locations that are owned by a country and have lumber. Now you will also become a vassal, and you are going to build wood for me. Completely expand the wood. Oh, and of course you're bankrupt, so you can't even promote people here. No, that's great. That's really cool. Let's do a quick calculation on how long this is going to take to settle. So that's 49 pops. We get 0.6%. Yeah, that's going to take another 15 years, actually. I might actually be the dumbest person alive. What I should have done is integrated this guy this entire time, but I didn't. So let's do that. It's not going to take very long, fortunately, because they are very small. But I should have done this a lot earlier. So they've been bankrupt since around 1380. That's really good. Okay, I hate having to do this, but here's more money per month than you see in a lifetime. I just really need them to not go bankrupt. Okay, now with these done, we're actually going to stop with that charter, probably. We're going to settle this frontier. Oh, I still can't settle that, even though I border it now? Why? Oh, we do have a colonial charter in there. Okay, that's fair, actually. That's fair. Nope, still can't do it. Never mind. Invalid target. Why? Because it's an invalid target. Okay. I guess there is right here. Yeah, we could do that, I guess. We'll send some people from here to colonize that. Alright, well, back to the colonial charter we go, I guess. Wish I could better see the finances of my subject. I have no idea if they're going to continue being bankrupt or not. Like, do I have to pay them more? Oh yeah, you're regent, eh? Well, we still don't have anybody in line for the throne, so you're actually going to take the throne. And then you're going to marry somebody. so that we don't have to keep on dealing with this. Okay, hold on. You have enough money to build one of these? Okay, you definitely have enough money to not go bankrupt. Don't even play with me. Finally, lumber is starting very slowly to be produced. Very slowly. I'm gonna force some subjects over here to become Inca. Ideally, we make this culture group smaller. There really aren't that many tags left that we can even see, so you know what? I'm gonna finish my expansion, starting with Chimu. Gotten to a point where I'm pretty sure my subjects can just handle this for me. There we go. I guess I didn't have to annex them, but I did want to release a different subject out of here. And then we'll release Chimu. Okay, we now have these locations, including the fabled lumber province. We're going to immediately expand that. We're going to settle tribesmen. I'm even going to encourage migration to see if we can also maybe get some laborers to choose to migrate here. Age of Discovery, yippee. Yeah, this is going to have a lot of implications for us. Again, we're going to stick to our administrative focus. Fortunately, we can actually get another 50% monthly colonial migration, so that's neat. Except not really, because the institution we need for that isn't going to spread for the next, like, 150 years. It's more on paper than anything else. Oh, you know what? I'm willing to bet this guy could actually support at least a few lumber mills. Yeah, you can. Okay, hold on. We might be able to cook with this. We could put a sawmill in there too. We can put one in there. We can build some lumber mills here. Yeah, don't make the same mistake I did. You actually can build these a lot sooner. I've been sitting here just trying to get the lumber RGOs. We don't necessarily need the RGOs. Now, let's see where else we want to settle. Probably down right here. We'll settle in this exact location with the pops from that location. I will say one thing. The gameplay, despite appearances, is actually not too boring. It would be boring if I had ample access to lumber, ample access to all these resources, iron, mostly lumber. If I had all those, then I wouldn't have to worry about anything. So at the very least, once you solve food, you have other problems to solve. And that's gameplay, I guess. Because how else are they going to make it interesting when you start down here? Like, you take over everybody, and then what? Well, now you have to figure out lumber, and then you have to figure out iron, and then once you've solved all those problems, then you'll have a functioning country, which will then get devastated by the Great Pestilence. But until everybody dies, at least we're having a pretty good time. Okay, we have a new Inca, which means, of course, we need to get rid of all of these panakas. One part of this that I don't like. I've also just noticed that these guys up here have zero market access. So while they are giving me lumber, they aren't actually able to employ the additional lumber mills that I'm trying to make. So as odd as it seems, it wouldn't be a terrible idea to build up a couple marketplaces in here maybe, and then just give them their own market. Okay, let's experiment over here. What if I turn this into a new market? Are you guys going to starve to death? Maybe. Hopefully they don't. But anyway, now we should be able to import lumber from these guys. And you should actually be able to make money off that lumber. And in theory, once I build you a little tool workshop in here, then at some point they should be able to take full advantage of these lumber mills and export even more wood to me. At least that's the idea. Okay, we have finished colonizing, in theory, over here. We'll see what happens in that case. Okay, we just finished colonizing here. Do I actually own this? No. Wait, what? What? I have just finished colonizing this, but I don't have the province. What happened? I spent like 25 years trying to colonize this one location, and now that it's finally done, it just doesn't hand it over. You can't really make this up. I don't really know what to say to that. I'm not even allowed to colonize it anymore. Okay, that's cool. It's a good thing I decided to go with our backup plan, but damn, you can't really prepare for that. I hope this one ends up finishing and actually giving me the location, but who knows? Well, we've finished settling in a location I actually don't remember. Wait, was that over here? Oh, right, over here for the iron. It is not possible to expand mines for iron. We lack the advances required for it. I might actually go insane. We need advances to mine iron. I mean, yeah, we do have to enter the Iron Age, I suppose, but like, really? Yep. We don't have that. We cannot do any iron working because we don't have feudalism. I feel like we should be able to invent feudalism. It arose independently somewhere, at least once. I feel like feudalism can arise somewhere else. Like, it's not one of those crazy ones like, oh, you haven't invented, like, global trade yet. That makes sense. That's fine. But do you really need feudalism to mine iron? Is that necessary? Well, I guess we should continue expanding the empire. How many pops do we have here? That's quite a lot. Okay. Let's keep settling the frontier, because if we don't, the Europeans will. Actually, I'm going to annex these guys first, and then I'm going to settle the rest of their province. That way, we don't send 120,000 pops somewhere. Oh, right. Are you guys starving by any chance? Doesn't really seem like it. Okay, that's good. And yeah, exactly. They can import from us, so that's not a big deal. How much wood are you making? You have closed the buildings. Okay, that's a good start, I think. At this point, I've been mostly using these to try and continue centralizing. Not much else to do with these. Okay, so this colony finished, but it actually did give me the lumber. Perfect. We're gonna stack that as well. Still have the same problem as always, never enough books in the market. Although I think that's because we don't have enough dyes. Alright, let's continue settling the frontier. Finally, we have enough books to move our capital back to Cusco. It only took like 100 years. But of course, we can't keep our capital in this rural province the entire time. We have buildings to build that can only be built in a town. We'll build a sergeantry, for example. Okay, the Aymara culture now actually likes us. It would be kind of expensive to go over our capacity here, but I might just go ahead and do it. And instead, we can remove this as an accepted culture, because there are very few of those pops left. Now, with that done, I'm pretty sure we can colonize like a little bit more here. There we go. Wow, that's actually like the entire thing. I think it's worth throwing down a couple of bailiffs in locations where we have maybe gold or silver, but just not a lot of proximity. I do want to keep expanding around here, but that to be the easiest, we're going to have to accept cultures so that we can instantly settle those territories like we did down here. I think since we're not going to get any tax, the only way to change this is to, well, first of all, we're going to have to decrease the cost of Aymara substantially. And they cost that much because they have more pops than us. So basically, we have to assimilate, like, aggressively. Oh, don't tell me you're bankrupt. Okay. Well, we're gonna have to do the same thing, because I can't make them into a vassal, so I can't annex them yet. Actually, let me enforce culture. You know what? You would make much better use of this stuff than I would. Let's also go ahead and colonize down here. I'm pretty sure we can. There we go. We can also settle this over here. This is gonna be a little bit stupid. I'm gonna take this one location from our subject, right? We're gonna use this one location. Of course, we'll pick the youngest characters so that they don't die. So this one location is going to depopulate all the way down to, I think, literally 0 pops. But once it's been cleared out, for the next 9 or so years, no more people are going to leave to go over here. We're just going to get the provinces, and that's fine. I think I've realized a small problem with this province. I think it's actually permanently severe winter. It says no winter, and then you look inside. Severe winter. Definitely bugged. Okay, so we can't build stone in here. Never mind. I'll take my money back. We do need stone somewhere, though. I think I'd also like to relocate the market over to Cusco as well. That should allow us to build a few things that we can only build in the market capital. That's also a town. Another settlement down. We're not going to do much with it, but we are going to continue settling the frontier up this direction. Looks like we can't use the same sacrificial pawn this time, though. It needs to have over 1,000 pops. That's okay, because we have a new sacrificial pawn. Actually, instead of settling there, what if we put down a little colonial charter? Then what if we accept the Wanka culture? There we go. Now, we don't really want to keep that. We just want to push the frontier further. And, okay, maybe we can settle a little bit. I think historically the Incan Empire would settle people from different parts of the empire in different regions to quell separatism and to make sure that they can't revolt together. Now, I don't think that's really necessary, but it is an interesting idea, so we're going to do it. I didn't think I'd have to fight another war, but then I realized that the only source of stone in this northern market is these guys over here. So we're going to take care of that. Presumably my subjects can deal with that for me. Now let's expand that stone. Oh, wait a second, I didn't realize the Wari culture was all the way up here too. I might just be able to colonize that. Well, for the most part. Oh yeah, we're gonna swap this out, by the way. Kinda had that for a while. We'll remove you and we will take Inti instead for more pop growth. We can actually also, I think, continue expanding up into here and then up into here actually. Then right here, and this might be the best that we can do. But we settle here from these locations, that's probably fine. We finally finished settling this one province, which gives us just enough locations to form Tawantinsuyu. This gets rid of our Andean monarchy, which is what gives us the panakas. Every location gains one when the ruler dies, and that sucks. We do get a new government reform, which isn't that different. We still have the panakas, which I absolutely despise, but we do get more monthly development, another reform, and 5% legislative efficiency. Beautiful. I think it would be nice, actually, if we could change the name to Tawantinsuyu, so that it doesn't have to be the Incan Empire. But let's take a look at what we have here. I think for this reform, we would pick up Royal Decree for the centralization and crown power. But that is where we're going to end things off for today. If you guys want to see more of this campaign, which there will be a lot more to look at when the Europeans arrive, then be sure to let me know, especially by leaving a like down below. If this video receives a lot of support, then there's a pretty high chance that I'll make a part 2. To make sure you don't miss that part 2, subscribing would be a good idea. And now if you want to play Cusco, hopefully it's made a little bit easier. Although honestly, just play anybody else. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Big thank you to the patrons for this month. Everybody here does get early access to videos for as low as $1, but I'd like to give a special thank you to those who decide to donate more. So thank you, Erica, Born to Dunk, Gallo4, Gorka Maistegi, Lick Becker, Mikhail Sample, Nick Steffel, Princess Rhea, Q-Brute, Spyro, Tillman Augustin, A.G. Ferrero, Ben Mottram, Quiet Guy, Rosset, Ambient Cyan, Elysia Tuts, James Levy, Luke78776, Stalin DLRP, and Robert.